Hi everyone, welcome to Bonnie Carolee Makes Cards. Today's card features a digital print by Alex Siberia Design called Coloring Therapy. And this is perfectly named. There's something very relaxing about coloring something that has a repeat design. So let's get started. I began by creating a subtle ink smoosh background on Bristol Smooth cardstock. I'm working on an oversized panel that measures 5 by 7 inches. The background has been created with Distress Oxide inks, pumice stone, ice spruce, and tumbled glass. I like to apply colors one at a time, drying them in between. I first applied the pumice stone, followed by ice spruce. I applied tumbled glass last, wanting just little bits of blue here and there. Applying the colors one at a time gives you a little bit of control over how the color is going to be mapped out on your panel. I let the panel sit under some heavy weight for some time before I fed it through the manual feed of my printer. The panel was die cut with a stitched rectangle die, taking it down to just under an A2 size. This image was painted simply using Ken Oliver's liquid metals. I'm working with 3 colors: metallic, turquoise, quartz, and peridot. The paint is picked up and applied at the top of each of the leaves. The brush is cleaned off and the excess water is dabbed onto some paper towel, and then the paint is pulled down to create a gradient. Bristol Smooth cardstock can certainly handle some water, but you do have to be careful and not overdo it. After the central vine was painted with turquoise, the vine to the left of it was painted with quartz. When I finished painting this vine, I again moved to the left of it and painted that vine with peridot. This established my pattern. By the time I had finished painting, alternating the colors from one vine to the next, I ended up with the turquoise that was in the center of the card also framing it. I liked the balance that provided. The panel was placed inside of a spatter box, and using a small brush, spatter was applied with each of the 3 colors. Both the main and the secondary sentiment are from Simon Says Stamps Inside Friendship Messages. Before stamping the main sentiment, "Thank you, friend," with Versamark ink on vellum paper, I did use some anti-static powder. This ensured that the embossing powder knocked off cleanly, only remaining on the sentiment. I let the heat tool come to its maximum temperature before applying it to the vellum. The embossing powder melts quickly and there is no warping. The sentiment is trimmed down using my Tim Holtz guillotine. I love that it has a press plate. No worries about something slipping and your cut messing up. It holds whatever you're cutting exactly where it needs to be. When wrapping a vellum strip around the card, once I have the sentiment lined up where I want it to be, I make a fold on one end and then use the bone folder to make sure that it's nice and crisp. I then do the other side, really holding that paper tightly up against the other creased end. This will help the vellum sentiment lay flat on your card front. The vellum strip is put in place temporarily so that I can position the secondary sentiment. Once the sentiment has been picked up by the MISTI door, the vellum strip is removed so that there's no mishaps during stamping. For fine sentiment stamps, I like to use black onyx VersaFine ink. This ink needs a little bit of drying time, so do take care, especially when you're stamping directly on your card front. You don't want to smear that sentiment. To intensify the black, I stamp twice. The vellum band is wrapped around the panel and held in place at the back with some Scotch tape. Before adding tape to the other side, I just take a quick peek to make sure my sentiment is aligned. Before adhering the panel to black cardstock that is slightly smaller than an A2 size, it is mounted on white sheet foam. The panel is adhered to a top folding A2 size card base. The sentiment has been highlighted with gold confetti topped with Nuvo Crystal Drops Morning Dew. There really is something very relaxing about painting the same image more or less over again. Having said that though, the addition of a color pattern really heightened my anticipation as I wondered what it was going to look like at the end. The time that I had allotted for my crafting session got extended because I just couldn't stop. Relaxing to paint, stayed in my craft room longer than I had planned. Sounds like therapy to me. As always, I appreciate your visit.